It's been a common practice on this channel for me to let next-gen Switch rumors come and go without a mention, simply because they defy logic or are otherwise so poorly founded that they don't constitute real news. I'm never going to engage in idealistic nonsense here, and if you're more interested in getting hyped than getting informed, there are plenty of other channels out there that will help you get excited now and disappointed later. I'm not going to do that, and in that spirit I was actually kind of reluctant to put this video out. However, in the last couple of days, the Switch 2 rumor mill has taken some interesting turns that carry enough legitimacy to demand my attention, and I think I can give it some analysis in context of other matters surrounding the Switch 2 that other YouTubers aren't providing. If you've watched my past content on this matter, I take Digital Foundry's talk of a Switch 2 dev kit recall seriously, which means the biggest clue to watch for in devising a timetable for a likely launch is confirmation that the dev kits have been reissued. I'm making this video now because we may have just gotten that confirmation from game industry leaker Nash Weedle. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of this maybe confirmation, let me go over why Nash Weedle is credible on this matter. He's a Spanish leaker with obvious ties to Mercury Steam, as his big claim to fame is the Metroid Dread leak where he confirmed the title, the release window, and the developer before any of that information was made public. So this means that while the scope of the leaks could be very limited, he speaks with good authority on matters of the Spanish gaming industry, which includes Mercury Steam, of which I wouldn't even be surprised to learn he could be an employee. So now that we've taken the measure of our leaker, what's he saying exactly? Well, he's saying that there's a Switch 2 dev kit in Spain. He's not citing a developer, but based on the clues we can safely assume it's Mercury Steam, because Metroid Dread is a fantastic game and should have earned them enough clout to get into Nintendo's inner circle of third-party partners, certainly enough to cut them ahead of much of the line to get their hands on the Switch 2 hardware. Now, where Nash Weedle loses me is in taking it as evidence that we're in the final phases before the system's reveal. If this were the 90s or aughts where consoles got revealed well over a year before their launches, that wouldn't be a controversial statement, but there's just too much credible, contradicting information to suggest that we're within the usual current-day striking distance of the Switch 2 launch to warrant an imminent reveal. The thing I keep coming back to is that aforementioned Digital Foundry bit about Nintendo recalling their next-gen dev kits without a reissue at the time of that statement, which was about a month and a half ago. When combined with what Nash Weedle is saying, that means that dev kits started going out to studios within the past month or so. That simply doesn't line up with a system that is launching in the spring, unless Nintendo is planning on launching with a bunch of ultra-crunched shovelware rather than a proper launch lineup worthy of the successor to the best-performing console in company history. These games are going to need time to cook, in a day and age when the average game development cycle is 2 to 3 years, and Nintendo is seeing some of its top shelf titles like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and the still unreleased Metroid Prime 4 going into much deeper waters. If anyone can reconcile that, I'm all ears. This timetable also doesn't account for the bizarre fact that Nintendo is drawing down their sales projections for the 3 Switch SKUs we have now, Standard, Lite, and OLED, while simultaneously ramping up their orders for current generation Switch components, and giving their lowered sales projections an oddly specific, current hardware-only clause in this fiscal year. All signs point to the return of the long-rumored Switch Pro as a stopgap system for the elements of the Switch player base that are calling for the expedited release of more powerful hardware. It would also be a real easy way to get the Switch past the 155 million console sales mark and into the all-time #1 spot. Honestly, if it wasn't for that ramped-up hardware order, you could easily convince me that Nintendo was going to carry out a much more calculated version of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series launches, where the systems had few to no exclusives for their first couple years and mainly served the purpose of running their predecessors' games better. However, the fact that Nintendo is ordering a lot of original Switch components while admitting in their sales projections that they don't intend to sell as many original Switches as they had originally thought paints a very clear, very different picture. Finally, the last, perhaps unlikely player in all of this is Activision CEO Bobby Kotick. While it always warrants stating how questionable his character is anytime he gets brought up in discussion, what isn't questionable is the authority he speaks with on game industry matters, and he recently opened up about some personal exchanges with Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa on the matter of the Switch 2 hardware. A lot has been made about Kotick's allusions to the approximate hardware power of the Switch 2, but I'm not going to waste any time on breaking down the particulars of that here, because so much of it has been misquoted or misinterpreted that it isn't really worth going into. Besides, if anyone actually expected Nintendo to fly anywhere near the spec of the PS5 or Xbox Series with its next hardware, they're delusional, or at least haven't been paying attention for the last 17 years. Rather, the point of intrigue here is that Kotick is speaking of the Switch 2 from any sense of understanding at all, to a degree that it seems as though he has already developed an informed concept of what Activision as a company could do with it, implying that either Nintendo has at the very least disclosed him on the finalized system spec in detail, or potentially Activision is already in possession of dev kits themselves. Bringing this full circle, that lends credence to Nash Weedle's claim that the Switch 2 dev kits are now out in the wild. Now for the last piece of the puzzle. Why am I a Switch Pro believer in 2023 when everyone else seems to have moved on from that rumor? For that, we have to go all the way back to the Pokemon Presents Presents leak and everything surrounding that show. In the midst of all the new leaks and rumors that have been going around regarding the Switch 2, it's easy to forget about the very accurate Pokemon Presents leak over on 4chan months ago. I'll leave the link here to take you to my breakdown of that leak and how I evaluate leakers in general, but to put it simply, it's been proven a credible leak because of parts of it that have already come true. So let's put the pieces together. Thanks to The Verge's report on Nintendo's hardware orders, we know that they are buying up a lot of current-gen Switch parts despite having a bearish disposition on the current-gen Switch itself. Thanks to that Pokemon leaker, as well as Nintendo tipping their hand just a little too much, we have it on good authority that Nintendo is releasing some kind of Switch hardware within months. Thanks to Digital Foundry confirming the dev kit recall, to Nash Weedle confirming the reissue, and to general understanding of how game development works, informing the timetable from there, we know that it's not the Switch 2. Draw your own conclusions. I find that a lot of channels like to report on leaks and rumors a lot, but they never like to do much detailed evaluation or to combine information to get the bigger picture. I can understand why, honestly. There's a huge viewership market for hype and excitement, and right now that requires investing in a narrative that suggests the Switch 2 is right around the corner. My integrity just doesn't let me push that narrative when there's so much evidence to the contrary. The Switch 2 will have its time, and when it does, I'll be right there looking forward to it with the rest of you. Until then, I revert to my long-standing mantra regarding Nintendo's hardware situation. If it's coming soon, it's not next gen, and if it's next gen, it's not coming soon. Still Team 2025 here. That's all for now. If you like this video, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe as it all helps grow the channel. Click the notification bell to know right away when the next video is out. I'm Patrick Mifflin, and I'll see you back here next time.